Haven Adamide Fellowship Sermon, Table of Nations. Genesis 10, Table of Nations. Okay. Now the Table of Nations in rabbinic tradition, they don't really follow it completely comprehensively. They tend to leave out Cush's son Nimrod. Nimrod's a dastardly figure to the rabbis. Apparently, Abram's opposing Nimrod later on or something. Or Nimrod's opposing Abram. So he's a bogey figure to the rabbis, which is just bullshit. Just Jewish tradition, nonsense tradition. But in Wiki Noah anyway, which is pretty much rabbinic Talmudic Judaism, when they enumerate the Noahide nations, I've noticed that they Cush begets Nimrod, and it's not designated as Noahide nation. Cush is not designated. They don't designate the lower ranks of the higher ranks of the names as Noahide nations, just the lowest rank, the lowest begotten list of sons. So Noah's not designated as a Noahide nation, nor Ham, and Canaan I don't think really is, but Sidon is his firstborn is designated as Noahide nation, not Canaan. So the lowest sort of point of a hierarchy of the genealogy in Genesis 10, that's where they give the Noahide nations from. But they don't show where Nimrod is from, and in the Noahide nations list in Wiki Noah, they don't show that Nimrod is part of the Noahide nation. So Babylon and the Erech and Calneh and Akkad and so forth, those places in Genesis 10, which were formed by Nimrod and perhaps by Asher, who formed Nineveh perhaps. It's different translations say. One translation says that that Nimrod went forth to the land of Asher and built Nineveh and Calneh and so forth, and another translation says that Asher went forth from that land, sort of from Babel and Erech and Akkad. So Asher, Asshur, would have formed Assyria and would have been a descendant of the Nimrodian people, or Babylonian or something. So it says something in different translations, it's translated in different ways, so it's hard to know for sure what the original Hebrew might be saying. People are not 100% sure. But one thing we do know is that Nimrod is a Cushite, son of Ham. So Ham, Cush, Nimrod. So Noah, Ham, Cush, Nimrod. So by the looks of it, he's on the 14th generation of Adam, because he's from Adam also. He's a Noahide, equivalent with Eber, father of the Hebrew people. So what I'm discussing is this is a Table of Nations discussion. The book of Nahum, in the prophetical section, judges Nineveh. The whole book is a dialogue of judgment against the Ninevites, and it's important to understand who are the Ninevites, to see who is being judged in this direction. And it's pretty clear that there are no Shemites, there are no Abrahamites, so there are no Hebrews. They're part of the nation of Ham, part of the Noahide son Ham, Noah, the Noahides of course, but the son of Ham, and the son of Ham's son Cush, and then Nimrod. And Assyria, Asher is from that. So we have and he began to be mighty hunter before the Lord, like Nimrod might have hunter before the Lord. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babylon and Erech and Akkad and Calneh in the land of Shinar. Out of that land went forth Asher and builded Nineveh and Rehoboth and Calah, and Resen. Between Nineveh and Calah, the name is the same as the great city. Now that's Nimrod. Now, it doesn't say what nation here it's part of in this list here. Okay. So, realistically, the nations are the city-nation of the city-states themselves. So Babylon, the city-state of Babylon, Erech and Akkad and Calneh, and Nineveh and Rehoboth and Calah. So Asher could be the founder of Nineveh, for example, who's from, well, out of that land. So out of Nimrod comes Asher, or it's Nimrod, because it says the beginning of his kingdoms were Babylon and Erech and Akkad. So if that's the beginning, maybe the other translation's more correct, that then he went forth and settled Nineveh and Rehoboth and Calah. So that's the beginning of his kingdoms. Maybe Nineveh's the ending of his kingdoms. So it's hard to say for sure because it's not clear enough. I'd have to really have a long look at the Hebrew, but different people translate it different ways. It's not going to be easy to work that out for sure. But suffice to say that Nineveh, I'm talking about Nineveh in relation to the book of Nahum. Nineveh is a Noahide nation. Now, why this is important is that the only real information we've got on how the people of the flood were judged is the book of the Rainbow Torah, Genesis 1:1 to 11:9. But Nineveh is judged by the prophet Nahum. He gives a whole host of judgments against him. And God doesn't judge anyone unless they're under certain rules which pertain to them. Now, Nahum 3, our city of bloodshed, utterly deceitful. So he's condemning Nineveh for its deceit, which is its lies and its false witnesses. Its lies, its corruption. He's judging Nineveh for corruption. Full of booty, know when to plunder. So theft, pillaging, stealing, robbing people. Judging Nineveh for robbery. Crack a whip and rumble of wheel, galloping horse and battling chariot, and so forth. Piles of dead, heaps of corpses, dead bodies without end, they stumble over bodies. Murder, which is clearly judged in the Rainbow Torah. And because of the countless debaucheries of the prostitute. So prostitution is condemned. Gracefully alluring mistress of sorcery. Sorcery is condemned. Who enslaves nations through a debauchery. So nations are enslaved if they get too involved with prostitution. And peoples through her sorcery. So nations are enslaved again by the deceptions of magical practices. Sorcery. And, he's discussed some of them. And will let the nations look upon their nakedness, and the kingdoms on their shame. So, Nineveh is part of Asher, perhaps, Assyria, but that's founded by Nimrod anyway, which is from Cush, which is from Ham. So what this book of Nahum the prophet is judging, he's judging essentially the people of Ham, by the looks of it, according to Genesis 10. So he's judging a Noahide people. He's judging people of the Noahide covenant. They're not Hebrews. They're not people under a sort of almost another idea. They're not Abrahamites. They're Noahides, which Nahum is judging. So I would assume that God only judges people for behaviors which are sinful. So because they're judged for lies, deception, deceitfulness, theft and plundering and robbery and pillaging, murder, of course, prostitution and sorcery, all we can really assume from that is that the people of a flood must have probably been judged by those issues as well, that these judgments pertain to general judgment upon mankind. So, judgments upon the Noahide nations from Nahum 3. Judgments upon the Noahide nations from Nahum 3.